I think the biggest tragedy us human beings actually inflict on ourselves is that we don't realize how good we have it.
Hi, I'm Zack Newmark, and this is Damn Yankee. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts for all the best interviews with the coolest performers based here in the Netherlands and those traveling through the country, like my longtime friend, Sairah Erens. She is from Venlo, Limburg, but you wouldn't know it from her accent. In 2018, she formed the Orange Theater Company with her business partner, Elise. It's the only, or the longest running, I think, English language theater company based here.
Not the longest running, but
among the longest running.
Among the
longest running English language theater companies based here in Amsterdam. She is also one of the founding partners of the Tiny Theater Monologues Live that started as a podcast in 2020 during the coronavirus pandemic and then has been expanded to live performances on stage since then, and most recently starred as Vanda Jordan in Venus and Fur in a production here in Amsterdam through Orange Theater. And before that, The B Word about Brexit, which I think we talked about was the first show about Brexit. But either way, thank you so much for joining us, Sairah Erens. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
That's excellent. And you said this was your first. I can't believe this is your first.
Yeah, no, it is. I've been asked, I've been interviewed before for news articles, blogs, whatever, but it was always me and Elise, because of Orange Theater Company. But you're the first to ask me just for me.
Well, and Elise, also, you're a partner with the Orange Theater Company. How is it that the two of you even know each other in the first place?
So we actually met at a this small event with Orange Tea, the previous iteration. We started completely anew, but that's where we met. And Elise and I just hit it off. Laura, who ran Orange Tea together with Sam, she said, oh, you two should sit together and brainstorm because we both wanted to start a new company. And honestly, I didn't know Elise. Elise and I are from different worlds. Well, kind of. We were both in New York for acting. Mm-hmm. But she grew up in Massachusetts, in Boston. I'm from Venlo, as she said, Limburg. Been living in Amsterdam for a long time. And we just met, and it was the funniest thing. We just stood up at one, we just stood up and we just hugged each other, and we just knew, okay, we're going to spend a lot of years working together.
That's
it was
so
very intuitive. Very intuitive. And if you know Elise as well, she's very practical, and she's not like that. Also not a big hugger with people she doesn't know, although she's American. But it was instant, and it felt good without knowing why, but we just knew we're going to do this together. And honestly, if I hadn't met Elise, and I think vice versa, we wouldn't have gotten Orange Theater Company where it is today. Honestly.
You guys are in your 8th year or about to start your 8th year.
Yeah, we started in 2018.
It's unusual for kind of any theater company to last that long. We know the theater companies that are around for a long time, but unless you attend shows, you don't realize how many attempts there are at forming a theater company.
Yeah.
And so just even, getting close to a decade in existence is already, a huge accomplishment in itself. It must not have been easy, especially, having gone through the COVID years as well.
Yeah. No, it wasn't easy. Because the first 2 years actually went really well. Amongst others, we had the sold out Brexit play. But then in 2020, after 2 years, and after 2 years, we finally picked up steam. We did 3 productions a year, and then everything was, like everyone knows, put to a halt. And it's been hard to get back. Also, we are not funded. There's no structural support from any grant or from the Council of Amsterdam. So it's all done on the back of volunteers, of friends, family, patrons, people like you who, come and see the show or support us in any way. And and Elise and myself for many years just believing so much in that Amsterdam deserves a professional English language theater group for makers and actors like myself. That's why I started, but also for audiences. And I think what we mean with professional, because what is professional? Like, we've always made productions to the highest standards with shoestring budgets, and it's how Elisa and myself want to be involved in productions, the way we treat each other, but also it's not professional in funding at all. So that's what I mean with professional. We wanted to be the first professional English group, and we're not yet, because we're still doing it, on very small budgets, and there's none in Amsterdam. If you really look at if people get paid for it or not. No, there's not. But
the way that you're, you must be able to lean on your networks for help here, help there.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's also, on the one hand, I'm sure it's really difficult to, find the sort of willpower to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, the generosity must also be quite a boost to your mentality.
Yeah. Always. And that was, I think, the hardest of the COVID years, is because why we kept going is every time we put up a show and the audience was there and all the support was there and the people who sponsored us, like, that's when you feel like, oh, that's why we're doing it. That's why we're doing it. And that wasn't happening in COVID. We made a short film, and then once in a while we were allowed to do a show, and then we had to be done by 5 o'clock. Yeah, like 5 o'clock rules here. And
one or two seats in between people.
Yes, and a lot of other things. I think it's because Elisa and I believe so much in what Orange Theater Company is already, and the potential it has, but also all the people involved in the last 8 years, from the volunteers, actors, crews, to all the audiences and people who support us. It's like, we really feel like, okay, if we keep on pushing, if we get more people involved at one point, I think they cannot deny at least one English group here to get a bit more, support.
What I wanted to ask also was, through all of that time with Orange Theater, and also, the challenges, first you get over the challenge of starting it up.
Yeah.
You and your partner, you and Elise. So first you get over those challenges of starting it up, and then COVID happens, and in the middle of the pandemic, you also start going out on the tiny theater monologues. So what is that first, and kind of, how did you and why did you start it up in the middle of the pandemic?
Well, there were a few things we were doing with Orange Theater Company, because, I was like, we're not the type to sit at home. What can you still do? So first thing we started with was producing a short film, Fever Dreams. You can still see it online. It's actually pretty freaking good. And we did it all in Zoom and from home.
Also nominated for an award, right?
Yeah. It got a best film from the Amsterdam Film Festival. Yeah. And then Daniela Down called me, and she's like, hey, I'm just thinking of doing something with monologues and all of that. And I was like, oh, that might be interesting. Maybe we can create a format that we can, where people can still write and perform, but it's done in a safe way, which, the podcast world is kind of where the podcast world exploded, right? With COVID. So that's how we started. We were like, okay, let's call it Tiny Theater Monologues Live. We create a theme every edition, and then people send in submissions based on that theme. And we picked the best monologues, and we let actors perform them. Sometimes writers themselves, but we always do test them, because some writers say, yes, I can act. And then we see it and we're like, oh, an actor could have brought it to a new height. So we wanted to create a stage for new writing and for actors. And then it was so funny. We were still doing the podcast when COVID was over. And I said to Daniela at one point, I was like, well, maybe we can just do live events, because we're a theater company. And also, performing in front of an audience is the best thing there is. So we changed it into the live events, Tiny Theater Monologues Live. And now we just do the live events that were turned into a podcast, but now we're changing it to the monologues are being filmed. And then we put it on social media so you can see the performance there. Yeah.
And you've been interested in acting, and you've been an actress for quite some time.
Yeah.
But, where did the sense of entrepreneurship come from?
By default. Yeah, no, really, it's true. I studied in New York, and I went to London for 3 years, learned a lot, did productions here and there. And then after 3 years in London, I was like, okay, this is really hard. I had to, well, most of the time I had to work in a really lovely but restaurant. And I just missed Amsterdam. I came back and I really tried to get my foot in the door here and with the casting directors and everything. And it was just hard. And after 2 years doing some cool projects, some smaller projects, I just wasn't satisfied. And I felt like I couldn't really add value. And it really started by default. I was like, I cannot control film. The medium of film is more difficult. Well, people say you can do that on your phone, but I'm not that savvy. But theater is something you can do easily. You can do stage readings. You have a text. You get some people together. And I was like, why is there not a professional English language group or a group that makes the kind of theater that I want to make, or that, engages with their audiences the way I think they should. And that's how it started. It was by default, and it was by also creating my own stage, but also bringing other people along because I felt quite alone, coming back from London and not finding my way in the industry. And I was like, there I feel like I can add value and have some sort of control.
Did you ever have a moment of regret? Where, you were kind of, wishing that you had more of a foothold in the Dutch, culture section. You come back, you've got friends, they're all doing things. You're trying to get this foothold with casting directors, and you had to create this sort of stage for yourself. I'm just wondering, if you had ever thought, how would things be different if I had stayed here instead of if I had gone to New York, instead of going to London?
Yeah, I did. I used to regret it. But that's a long time ago. And I think the main difference is my idea of success as an actor and as a creative has changed. So when I started out, I had this idea like by 30 or maybe 32, you need to have your breakout role, or you need to have your, first serious step, take your first serious steps in the industry. And I thought after that, if you didn't do that, then you kind of failed. Mm-hmm. But now I don't feel that way anymore because I changed that idea of success. I honestly think that I know now I'm an actor. I know I'm a creative. I don't doubt that anymore. I used to. And whatever, this is my vehicle. If I had success in the Dutch industry when I came back after London, or when I went, maybe if I had gone to drama school here, I would have never started Orange Theater Company. And I also really believe in now, okay, I'm an actor, but apparently my route was I'm an actor, but I need to be entrepreneurial. And in doing that, I can also put in values that I appreciate. I really appreciate connecting people and creating networks. That's the kind of actor I am right now. I'm not always on stage. Yes, I haven't been in big films or series, but I know who I am as a human being and as a creative, and I'm actually pretty proud of where I'm at. And I know also that I'm skilled, and I know that there's a lot of creatives out there that are put in the time, they put in all of it, what they should do, and still don't maybe get that career that they envisioned when they were 25. But if you really love the craft, and I figured that out, I'm like, oh darn, I'm 38 and I still love what I'm doing. Even most of the time, we get paid tiny bits, like voluntary compensation with Orange Theater Company. But I love what we're doing and I firmly believe in it. And so in short, not anymore.
I mean, we interviewed a stand-up comedian who's based in New York. His name's Lucas Zelnick. And, during COVID, he had an opportunity to take over a space and turn it into a small stand-up club that grew to become more successful. And that, for him, was also an opportunity to get more and more hours and more time on stage.
That's it.
Yeah. And it kind of sounds a little bit like that's what you were going through, that, creating a theater company has also been a vehicle for you to spend more time on stage.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially in the beginning years. But it has shifted. When I started it, I was an actor and I was producer, creative with Orange Theater Company. I have to say, though, at one point I lost myself a bit. I was hardly acting anymore. And that was during COVID, which makes sense because we weren't doing shows. Also, I am not one of the actors that I'm not always in the shows because I believe that Orange Theater Company benefits more if there's a lot of different actors on stage. Also, that's what I want to give back, because nobody gave me that chance. So I was like, okay, let's also create a space for more people. And yeah, I lost myself a bit, but then I decided, okay, I'm just going to go back to training. And I took, in the last 3 years, I would say 4 years, I took so many acting classes. And I just kept that muscle going, that once I got the opportunity again with Venus and Fur, which was it's 2 actors on stage for 90 minutes. So, you know, you need to kind of be able to be comfortable. And also I'm the artistic director. So I wanted the level to be high, or at where I could be proud of, and that also would set the bar for future shows. So I did that by just taking all these classes and trainings, and I still do that. So there's ways of doing that, creating your own space, your own stage, but also taking classes that when the opportunity arrives, that you know, like, you've got it, you can do it.
And, you know, does it make it harder that, you know, because you're with, you know, this English speaking theater company that you're trying to expand and you're trying to grow it, but at the same time, you know, immigrants come in, immigrants go out.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think aside from students, people have a tendency when they, you know, arrive in the Netherlands to stay for 2 or 3 years and then maybe go on to the next thing. And if they're international students, maybe they get a job, maybe they don't.
Yeah.
So are you kind of, it must be in a way that you're constantly building an audience. You're constantly losing audience. You're constantly trying to get new people to come in the door. You're constantly losing potential patrons, and you're constantly trying to get in new patrons.
Yeah, that's a good point. However, don't forget, a lot of our audience is also Dutch, who like to see English language shows. Of those internationals that are part of our audience, part of them are the expats that you're talking about, 2-3 years. A lot of them stay. A lot of them, also the creatives in OTC. So yeah, it is hard, but also we really want to show to people, like, this is not only a good place to see English language theater, we're also here to connect Dutch and internationals. Because when I was living in New York, sometimes I was quite lonely, same in London. And what I love to do is I could always go to the theater, and especially in America, in New York, after the show, people talk to each other, or you go to a bar and then you buy each other a drink, and they're very open. So what OTC also does is we create that space of, you know, let's have all those people connect and meet with all those different international backgrounds. So yeah, it's a very mixed audience.
Are Dutch people coming to your shows because they want to see something performed as it was originally written?
Yes, but we also do new writing, and sometimes let's be honest, like, maybe our generation and up, I'm a millennial. We're also quite attuned with English, but even the younger generations, like, oh my goodness, their English is fluent. Like so I do feel it's also an investment for the future for Dutch audiences as well, and Dutch actors who want to perform in English. We had that with a show, Sweet 16. It was a play that we translated from a Dutch company, the toneelmakerij. And we translated it, and we got 2 quite well-known names, Hanna van Vliet and Sigrid de Napel. They're quite well-known in the Netherlands, at least. They performed with us in English on stage. So yeah, it's so much more than just that performance. It's really creating that community. And I think that community will only get bigger on the creative side and the audience side. Yeah.
You know, you've done Venus and Furs, but the next show that Orange Theater has coming up is the Laramie Project.
Yes.
So, you know, what is that?
The Laramie Project, it's actually a very well-known American play, but from the 2000s. So the Laramie Project was made by the Tectonic Theater Group, written by Kaufman. And what happened is, Laramie, Wyoming, real town, city, I should say, Sam Shepard was killed. I don't know if you've heard of it at the time. Yeah. And what the Tectonic Theater Group did is they went into the community and interviewed everyone of what happened after Sam was found on a fence, beaten to death. He died in the hospital later, and how it affected the community. And based on all those interviews, they made a verbatim, I'll explain in a bit what it is, verbatim style play, which is, it's based on real quotes and everything they've gathered from all those interviews. It's a documentary style play.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite special because not a lot of those shows have been done. It was one of the first big ones. And the heartbreaking thing is it's still relevant today. What happened after Sam passed away is it took many, many years, because I think Sam passed away, it was in 98, and only in 2016, if I'm correct, there was the new law where hate crime was, treated in a different way.
Right.
So not just a crime, but a hate crime based on somebody's identity, race, all of that.
What kind of response are you expecting to a show like this in Amsterdam or from a Dutch audience?
Well, the most beautiful thing about this is it's about the community. So we see Sam Shepard, there's nothing based on him because, of course, it's a documentary style play. So it's only the people from the village or the city. And I think what people will see is, that was in 98 in Laramie, Wyoming. But it is a lot of what they are experiencing. Not only, the hate that was seeped into that community, also the incredible amount of love and courage there as well. So it gives a very humane reflection of what a hate crime does to a community. And that is also relevant here. And I think we share those similarities, even though it's Laramie and it's 98.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a lot of those sentiments and echoes that we experience here as well when there's a hate crime. So, it's kind of a story of don't forget these things happened and they're still happening, and they will happen more if we're not aware and protect everyone.
What's the challenge then in translating that to, cultural grants or grants from the Netherlands or, sponsors from sponsorships from Dutch companies?
The challenge is almost the question that you asked before. It's like sometimes they can't really pinpoint us, and they're like, is it just an international company? Are they just here for a few years? Are they serious about what they're doing? So it's like getting them in the door, and when they see who's behind it and they know the people and they see the productions, then we usually can convince them. With the grants, though, it's really hard because, and we knew this when we started this 8 years ago, because we go from semi-professional, we want to go to professional. That doesn't happen almost never in the Netherlands. It starts with people come from, with certain professional backgrounds or drama schools and then the grants know, okay, we know where they come from, here is. And for us, no, we need to prove ourselves time and time again. Also, again, we're doing this for a voluntary compensation. I'm not kidding. I was doing the opening night of Venus and Fur in December, 2 days before the stage was put in. We just moved into the kit. It was a huge thing. At 11:30, I still, and it was just because it was too much work, had to finish something with the grant and send it in at my own opening night.
Right.
It's just because Elise and myself and all the people now involved were just stretched so thin that what it requires to apply a professional grant, like a professional plan, it's like we're doing everything. We're kind of like, we're putting up the posters and the stickers in the city, and we need to write the grants, and we need to make sure that everybody's okay in the production, and there's a set, for example. So I think it's just a cocktail of being overstretched doing this on no budgets, then trying to convince the grants that I know this is not the best grant application because I didn't spend part-time a month writing it because we need to run the show in that same time. It's I honestly do believe it takes time to build a reputation. And now I do believe if we were to apply for more structural grants in the future, and we're still around in a few years' time, people are like, okay, we know them now.
Well, so what the way that you're talking about this, it makes me wonder, which of the two lives that you lead makes you feel more vulnerable. Because on the one hand, you're doing a performance on stage as Vonda Jordan in Venus in Fur, where, you're dressed in a more sort of erotic appearance, and it's, a show with complicated themes and, about power in relationships and struggles between men and women. And then on the other hand, you're trying to run a theater company that is struggling to get recognized, struggling to get funding, struggling to balance, a time commitment with your professional lives and personal lives as well. Yeah. And so, these both seem like extremely vulnerable positions to be in.
Yeah. When I'm acting in Venus in Fur, that's just pure joy. That is relaxation. Running the company, that has been more of a struggle. I'm vulnerable. So if I'm acting, I kind of feel like I'm not, the better version of myself in a way. So I don't feel vulnerable there. Also, the parameters are very clear. This is your text. This is what we discussed with the other actor. This is what the director wants. Okay, and we need to end up at point.
Hit your mark. Yeah.
Okay, hit your mark, and have fun, letting go. I love acting, and no, I don't feel vulnerable there at all. Even, Venus is quite a, I don't know how you experienced it, but it's quite a.
But also in a position where you're getting reviews and you're getting, criticized in one way or another, whether positive or negative. And, I'm sure that also that puts you in a vulnerable position. Because that's also part of the acting, but that's the moment after the stage, right?
Yeah, that is true. But again, to be really honest, even if people say my performance is not up to par or is not what they
which I didn't hear, by the way.
No. But then I would really feel like, okay, you can't please everyone. It's quite subjective as well. And I think with that kind of stuff, I don't mind as much as long as, and we see the audience after the show and you feel like if there's an elation there or there's some form of, okay, I've been transported for an hour and a half, I've been entertained or triggered in a kind of way that I wouldn't have done if I just stayed at home and watched a series, then I'm just super proud. And then whatever people say, reviewers, like, because I think if you start taking the reviews too seriously in a way, like whether you're good or bad, it will block you from just being free on stage and performing. So I honestly don't pay much attention to it. I find it terrible if my mom, who comes to all the shows, and my sister say, yeah, Sairah, that moment, that wasn't, and they're very like, they see everything. But when they say
and they don't sugarcoat anything.
Oh my goodness, no, they don't. No, my mom is from Rotterdam, and they're very even more straightforward than Dutch people. And no, she's brutally honest. But when my sister and my mom say it's good, I honestly don't care what anyone else thinks. Is that really bad?
No, but then I'm also kind of wondering, because if you're in the position where you're also running a theater company,
yes,
the reviews are important.
I know. From
the business perspective of it, right?
Yeah. But you know what? I was doing Venus and I honestly thought, I put in all the work previously, like with trainings, with all of it. And I kind of knew like this, I knew I was going to give it my best and it was going to be good. And if the reviews, I just couldn't imagine that there was one review who thought it would suck. Honestly, I just didn't. Because I made a commitment. We needed to open the Kids Theater. We had to do a very small production because the Kids opening of the theater moved 8 times. Right. So I also wanted to not put any pressure on other actors, because a lot of actors are like, you can't move it. We've moved it so many times. I'm like, I'll just do it with Sam, and then
you're the person who was on stage with
yes,
you. Yes,
Eli Thorne as a director of Orange Tea with Sam. And I was like, they know how hard it is. They don't care if we move it. So it was kind of again, to be honest, Venus and Fur was kind of by default, because we needed to have a very small, movable show with people that we trust, where we knew the quality was good. So I didn't doubt it at all. I was more worried if the stage was put in the day before the opening, which happened the day before the opening. Maybe that's the thing. This is the thing. Running OTC and all of this stuff, it's so much more stressful than me going on stage, because I know what I can do on stage, whereas I don't have any control and influence on,
what happens after.
Yeah. I think that's it. That's why I feel more vulnerable with OTC, because I'm least likely to control it in a way. And not that I want to control it. I'm aware of, not forcing things, but I know what I'm doing as an actor.
What did your mom and sister say? Is your sister older or younger, by the way?
She's younger, 3 years younger.
Okay.
Yeah. My mom said, I immediately start talking more with a Dutch accent. It's so weird when you think of your mom and sister. Honestly, it was the best they saw me perform.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
my mom said as well. Did they tell you that?
Yeah, my mom said, and including my sister, they said, I never saw Sairah once, and that's the biggest compliment you can get. Which is, yeah.
And your family, were they also kind of like that growing up in that way, or were they a little bit more maybe encouraging?
Oh, you mean being really honest and about performing and stuff?
Or about whatever
Everything.
You were doing, when you were a kid?
Yeah, I think I grew up, in my family, it was very much like, hey, you should, be aware that you grow up in a country, in a household where you're free to do what you want. You can make your own choices, where you're safe, where that's not for everyone. So there was this constant reflection on the world and people who maybe, are not as fortunate as we are. So I was very much aware of that. And they are also quite clear on, okay, if you want to go into the creative industry and those kind of endeavors, be aware it's going to be hard and there's consequences there. So they just never sugarcoated it. Yeah. And to be honest, I don't come from a creative family. So my dad and my mom are both, my dad is a dentist. My mom is a nurse
Psychiatric.
Psychiatric. She worked
at a prison,
wards.
Right?
Huh?
Does she work at a psychiatric institution or a prison?
Yeah, not a prison, but an institution. Yeah. So medical field. On my dad's side, it's all dentists. So not really a direct creative influence at all. Although my mom loves classical music and, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it wasn't, I wasn't stimulated as much to do acting classes. Also, where I'm from in Venlo, if you don't know where it is, it's not like, at the time at least, there were a lot of schools in Venlo that did that. They were there, but only if maybe your parents are very much aware of it. And for me, I also loved playing sports, and I was pretty good at it. So, I only really started acting and being serious about that after high school.
Are your parents still together now?
Yes.
And in Rotterdam?
No.
Where
so in Venlo. I'm from Venlo, yeah. But my mom's from Rotterdam. Yeah, she's from Rotterdam. So it's an interesting combination.
Were you encouraged at all to do anything creative? You talk about how in Venlo, which, in the southeast of the Netherlands, and it's not terribly close to any major city.
No.
It's kind of really in the middle between, a couple of bigger cities. And so, was there ever any encouragement to do it? I mean, have you always been kind of this outlandish, outgoing personality?
Yeah, when I was younger, if I could perform somewhere, I would, or dress up. I would say there was not the opposite of encouragement, which is?
Discouragement.
There was no... there was no discouragement, but there wasn't really like, oh, hey, we see you perform a lot. Or it was usually, to be really honest, like, Sairah, just act normal a little bit.
Right.
Give some space to the others. I remember one time with Sinterklaas, like friends of friends of my parents came, and they had like a boy same age as mine. He dressed up as Pete. He walked in, and you see it on the video, and then 10 minutes later he walks out with his little diaper thing,
sash,
and then you see me walking in with his Pete outfit, like that kind of stuff. So no, so that's the honest truth. It wasn't discouraged, but it also wasn't encouraged.
Was this something for you? Because where did you actually study European relations?
At the UvA, the University of Amsterdam. Yeah, I came to Amsterdam when I was 18.
So were you at a point where you were like, okay, do I really want to go to the University of Amsterdam and study European relations? Or were you also thinking maybe I should be doing something more creative?
Yeah, so this is what happened. After high school, I don't know where I got the urge from, or actually where I got the conviction power from. But I said, I'm gonna audition for all the drama schools. I ended up auditioning for 3, Amsterdam, Utrecht, and Maastricht at 18 with 0 experience, which was, for my parents, they're quite supportive, like, great, do it.
Yeah.
And my only like repertoire was Maria in the nativity play and a few of those small productions, but okay. And because they also thought, oh, then she'll probably get rejected, and then it's
right. Then it's done.
Yeah. So yeah.
Did you get rejected?
Amsterdam straight away. That was a weird audition, but Amsterdam, Utrecht. However, the problem was Maastricht, which is the city I wanted to go to because the drama school there, I thought I thought was the best, in my opinion, for me. And that's where I got to the final last round. And they said to me, like, we had a whole conversation. They called me and they said, hey, Sairah, you're 18. You have rough talent. We see it, but you need to take some, classes, get some experience, get a bit older, but come back next year. So that little seed was planted. So I was like, okay. But then in the meantime, and I agreed with my parents, then go study, because what are you going to do with your time? So I went to Amsterdam, started studying European studies, and started taking acting classes at CREA. And in that year...
CREA is an association tied to the University of Amsterdam, the cultural association.
The cultural. So... And then in that year, I just became a student also of the city, Amsterdam. And I was like, oh, acting, how many people do that? How many, like I'm experiencing now, how many really can pay their bills? And I really liked, international affairs and European studies as well. So that's when I decided myself to say, you know what, just go study that. And maybe if it sticks with you, then maybe in a few years' time you can always try it.
Then you kind of fell in love with Amsterdam as a city at that point, but you weren't like thinking, as an 18-year-old, Amsterdam's where I want to live.
I mean, I knew I wanted to live in Amsterdam when I hadn't even visited it. Like when I was growing up in Venlo, I always knew I want to go to Amsterdam. Because why? And it's a similar thing with European studies, but it's a similar thing with me wanting to act in English. Well, not only in English, but partly in English, but also Orange Theater Company. I love it when there's so many different nationalities. That is something that I'm always drawn to. So I always wanted to go to Amsterdam because I thought that is the most international city I know. I always knew I wanted to come here.
And what was it about Amsterdam that made you want to come back? Because here you'd been in New York for a number of years. You'd been in London for a number of years. And then at some point you're thinking, I want to get back to Amsterdam. Why? Why?
Because it was a struggle in London. I couldn't get the work that I wanted. It was a lot of disappointment and rejection. And at the time, also, I just mentally wasn't going as well as I should be. To be honest, at that point, I was talking to a psychologist there. I got depressed. And that's when my parents said, come back to Amsterdam or the Netherlands. I felt at one point I was
Did they want you to go back to Venlo, or did they want you to go back to Amsterdam?
No. Come back to the Netherlands. Yeah, no, not Venlo. They are here in Amsterdam constantly, but yeah. No, they always knew that.
I was going to say, Venlo's not exactly a cure for depression.
Oh, wow. Venlo is actually, I love Venlo, I have to say.
Really?
I still have a very strong connection to Venlo. I was there last week for a full week. My oldest friends still live there. My parents live there, although they're here a lot as well. No, I love it. It's a very specific. What I love the most is growing up in Venlo or in Limburg. I think you have a really different perspective than the people here in the city, which I kind of feel like I have a more broader perspective. I mean, the biggest provincials are Amsterdam people. Like, they never leave the city. A10, that's the border. Like, you're the biggest provincial, in my opinion. And like, I feel I'm more of a world citizen, knowing from Venlo and Limburg and Germany.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I honestly, and I love it. I love going back there as well. And it gives me perspective because, to be honest, really, if you live in those big cities for a long time, you get a bit, at least I do, a bit desensitized. And it's also, you get a bit arrogant as well. Like, you just, on the street, you're like with your bike shouting to tourists, like, get out of the way. I'm like, yeah.
But then, we're just to get back to it. You come back to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
This was like what year that you came back here?
I'm gonna say it's 2015.
2015.
Yeah, 2015.
So what then happens to you as a performer in those 3 years that you're back here in Amsterdam? Or were you doing other jobs? What were you doing?
Yeah, I was trying to get my foot in the door with the acting industry here. I did small things. I had a small role in a movie with Frank Langmers, Of Ik Gek Ben. Most of my lines were cut, but still, yeah, no, it started off pretty okay. Did some short films, small, performances, but not the type of work that got me, that I could just sustain myself with acting. So I just did random things, voiceovers, actually. That is how I started. I started doing voiceovers. And in those first years, I got very lucky because I booked a few really big jobs. Now, those kind of jobs are not around anymore, I've experienced, but it was literally, I became the voice of Sonos in the UK. I did Rabobank International and all of that. So it was voiceover, small acting gigs. And then, after 3 years, I was like, but this is not.
You didn't want to be an advertiser.
No. Also, it's a weird thing. I think that is the most conflicting thing about me as a person and maybe as an actor. I love acting, but to be really honest, only in the stories or plays that I really like. I've been cast for a few big commercials, and I said no to it because I didn't want my face on every bus stop or that. Yeah, and a lot of actors do that kind of stuff, just commercials, and I felt always very uncomfortable with it.
And so, are you not okay with taking the job to pay the bills so you can do the work that you love doing?
Yeah, but I had other venues of doing that. So the voiceovers and, for example, even now, like in COVID, I started as an actor role-playing online for companies, but that turned into me facilitating those sessions. They pay really well because it's corporate money. So I can make there literally in 3 hours what you make for, I would say, almost a day on shooting something. That would be, for 3 hours, I get paid almost that same amount. And then I'm like, and I'm also helping people. I don't know. I feel there's something, I feel uncomfortable with being the face of, also, like those products, some of them, I'm like a soap for your delicate areas. I'm like, this is bullshit. Women don't need that. They always sell women shit that make us insecure. And I was cast for that. And I was like, I didn't even do the read through. It was like I think they wanted just a visual thing. So I didn't have text at all. And I ended up not doing it. And that's when I said, I'm not going to do that kind of stuff. I don't feel comfortable with it. Or even André Lon, like a hair commercial. It's fine. I know. I just realized there's something in me that doesn't want my face out there just to be out there. I don't mind having my face out there, but then at least I want to try to tell a story that I kind of also want to hear or see.
Do you think, aside, I mean, obviously you're uncomfortable doing it, so you shouldn't do it, but has that maybe also had a negative impact on your career?
I absolutely think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think in the long run, no.
Go on.
Because I firmly believe now what I said at the beginning, like now I have a different idea of who I am as just me, as Sairah, as a person, but also as an actor. And I believe in longevity. And maybe I'll get, a bigger role when I'm in my 50s or 60s, or maybe the next project I'm going to work on. I'm developing an idea myself that I want to see on the screen. That might be the thing. If not, I'm okay where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I honestly, I agree with you. I think it has an effect on it. Yeah.
Is there a sort of, dream role that you would want to do, that you'd be willing to do the more corporate thing if it meant that or not the more corporate thing, but the more marketing PR thing?
Yeah.
If it meant that you could do this dream role? Is there that one role that you're like, I would really kill to be in that? I would do that.
I mean, there's easily many people in the industry that I freaking admire, and I want to be part of those shows or get an audition to. Yeah, absolutely. Like, okay, so one of my favorite creatives that I look up to is Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She created first the play Fleabag that became an incredibly successful series, and now she's writing and acting.
Right.
Like, I kind of feel that trajectory. I would, if I could get even close to that. There's a few performers that I would love to work with.
Are you saying she never did commercials for women's delicate soaps?
I don't think she did. I don't think she did. If she did, then that's her trajectory.
That's her trajectory, not yours, though.
Not mine. No, but this is actually about that commercial. I know I'm laughing about it, but I cannot sell something that I really do not believe in. That for me it has to do with a bigger idea, which is, companies selling people shit they don't need, or that makes them insecure, and especially women. Like we're already asked to look and be a certain way. Like there's a different kind of pressure on how we look and what people expect from us than from other people. So
what is it about Phoebe
Waller-Bridge?
What is it about her career that you seem to admire or that you look up to, either as an actress or as a talent, as a director, in whatever way?
I loved that she created her own story with a one-woman show, a play that was so honest and vulnerable and resonated with people. And that was translated into a series. So she really created her own platform. And I think that's the coolest thing. So you don't owe anyone anything in a way. You know what I mean? So, and it must be so incredibly powerful and giving a sense of real purpose and integrity if you can create that path for yourself, if it's not given to you. And I really admire that, because I know how difficult it is to create something that is of quality and of value. And she did it herself, and I think that's amazing. She and there's many different ways actors can become successful. Some people just get an early shot or lucky, but she did it herself.
Is that what you would want to do? Is some sort of one-person show on stage?
No, but the new idea. No, as an actor, I love having other actors around me. I'm better because of somebody. I get a lot from them. So not saying that I wouldn't do it, but I love being with other actors on stage. I think it's the most exciting thing, because you don't really know what's going to happen. But no, I have this idea since 22 for a series. And I'm now finally, I've written, the treatment, I've written enough now so that I can start talking to people. And if I could create that series, and I would also be part of, the cast, I mean, if that happens, I'll come back because this is my
then we'll
first
have another
interview.
show.
Yeah. That's another show. But yeah, so I love her trajectory because she was able to do that. And also, let's be honest, I'm 38. I didn't get my early breaks. So I don't think somebody will turn around tomorrow and say, hey, Sairah, you're the one that we've been waiting for forever. Could be, but the chances are quite slim. So I do think it's kind of my, also by default, I think I have to create it myself. If I want to give myself a role that is, that's, vulnerable, that is gritty, that has all those facets that an actor wants in a role, and not just a straightforward character.
What can you tell us about this series that you created?
It's about Europe.
That's it?
Yeah, so I was watching, I watch a lot of series, but I was watching a lot of series about American politics, Homeland, House of Cards, that kind of stuff. And I thought, and the Americans are so good at it. And it's like, why is there not a series about Europe, about the European Union? I mean, there have been attempts. I think there's a series called Parliament. But none of them have really picked up.
Well, and House of Cards was a UK show before it was an American show also.
Yeah. Absolutely. But there's not a series about really the European Union and Europe, us Europeans, and how we're navigating 2025 going into 2026. And I want to see that show. I want to see a like kind of in the style of Phoebe Waller-Bridge, like a honest, funny, dark. I love dark humor. There needs to be, like, in comedy, it's like often the basis of comedy is tragedy, and I would love to see an honest, dark, good comedy about us Europeans.
So you like a Julia Louis-Dreyfus Veep sort of thing?
She's on my mood board for sure. Yeah, but it's actually, I needed to find a Trojan horse in, because I think I don't want to see a series about people working at the EU, because also then it's harder to take your audience on a journey of what does the EU do?
Right.
Also, what are they good at and what are they freaking shit at? Because they're shit at a lot of things. One of the things that comes to mind is marketing. Nobody knows what the EU does. I studied European studies. I hardly know what they are doing.
I know.
Where are they? In Strasbourg or in Brussels now? What's happening with this? And actually, there's a lot of things.
You get so much, countries get so much money in return from them, and you have no idea, like literally no idea anywhere. You drive past 120 kilometers an hour, these billboards about infrastructure projects, and, you just race past them, and they're, like paragraphs of text on them. So you have no idea what they do.
Zilch.
Right.
And the thing is, Brexit happened partly because people were not informed. Also because the European Union fucking sucked at communicating to also British voters, like, hey guys, just be aware, if you do this, this is happening. Like, it was really hard to get through to them. Like, a lot of the counties that voted for Brexit, like most of the roads were still being built by the EU there.
Right.
It was insane. And I think it mostly had to do with people honestly not being aware, misinformation. And part of that is because of the EU's shitty job, pardon my French, in translating that message. Mind you, there's a lot of things that go wrong.
I agree totally.
But
I agree totally.
And the reason why I believe, why I want to make a series about us Europeans, and then indirectly about the EU, is because I think the biggest tragedy us human beings actually inflict on ourselves is that we don't realize how good we have it until it's gone.
Well, sure, yes.
But we forget that. And it's insane to be like, the EU was founded based on the huge tragedy and trauma of the Second World War. Never again, everyone said. Never again. That's not that long ago.
Right.
And us humans, we just, keep making those same mistakes. And I think sometimes art, and maybe art in the form of a series or just storytelling, but I'm choosing for a series format, can maybe at least make people see, like, hey, it's not that bad. And actually, we have way more in common than divides us. And if we're not careful, and if we don't take care of the institutions that are, now still alive and kicking, rules and regulations, all that kind of stuff sounds boring, but at the end of the day, it affects you straight away if they're gone. And I think the EU does a good job of upholding at least some sort of, rules and regulations and protection of European citizens.
So with the show idea that you have,
yeah,
obviously you want to play in it, but who's your dream cast for it?
Yes. So, okay. This is what I can say. It's not about the EU itself. It's about a marketing team that gets hired by the EU.
Okay.
Because then you can go all directions, right? So the core team is actually, like myself, because I think it's important, unknown actors. Experienced, very good, but they don't have to have 100,000 followers or more or have a big name. That whole system, I always I get upset almost about it. Like, I saw an interview this morning, Denzel Washington. He said, these days you don't have to be good anymore. It's just how many followers you have, and then often you get the job.
Right.
There's more nuance to it, but he touches a point, especially in Hollywood, what we see is like, it's insane. It's just repeating movies and just banking on safe and risk averse. And it's not always about the quality that people bring, So I also want my main cast to be people like myself. But what they're going to do is, because celebrity is a very important part of our culture, they're going to work with people who are very famous.
Mm-hmm. Do you have people in mind?
Yes.
That you'd like to see in it?
Oh, for like one of the first people that I want Javier Bardem and Penélope Cruz. I want them as the Spanish couple for something. Oh, there's so many. Mads Mikkelsen, Daniel Kaluuya, Stromae. Like I have. I mean,
you have dreams.
I have big dreams, and we'll see how it will end up. But yeah, those people making cameos.
So you've been working on this for 3 years.
Well, the idea...
And now, you've had the idea in 2022, you said?
Yeah, the idea came to me in 2022. And then at the end of 23, I finished the treatment. Then I thought to myself in 24, I'm going to make it. I'm going to write it. And it was impossible with Orange Theater and then also, personal life and, making a living.
Mm-hmm.
So I, only now I actually got to... a first draft of a pilot script, which is what you need in order to talk to people. Right. And especially with somebody with my name, which is no name at all.
So how are these chats going at this point?
Yeah,
are they progressing? Are they?
Yeah, no. I'm now in the stage where I have to go back to people because I had a pretty strong treatment, but most people I talk to, even really weird ABC networks or AMC networks who did Mad Men. I talked to the vice president, really great Zoom call with him. So I learned pretty quickly, you really need to have a draft. And I literally in Venlo finished it. So wow. Now I need to start talking to the people I was talking to at the beginning of 24 when I sent out the treatment in 23. Yeah.
I mean, it's again, for me, it's yet another highly vulnerable position that you're putting yourself in, right? Because we talked about it, earlier with what, vulnerability as an actress, vulnerability as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And now, you've put your own writing out there and you're trying to get it developed and you're trying to get it, to become a thing. Also a point where you could subject yourself to a great deal of rejection.
Yeah.
Can't be easy to kind of, face into these kind of headwinds again and again.
Yes. But again, I believe in it so much that I think it's easy to take the risk. Honestly, it's the same with OTC or this series. I'm like, I firmly believe in that it's an idea that is for, for the good of things and it will involve more people or affect people in a positive way. So I'm like, yeah, fuck. If people think I did a shitty job, maybe they'll say that. But I honestly believe there still needs to be a series about Europe that is very funny and honest and, vulnerable. So there's almost not I cannot not do it.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And is Elise, from your partner with Orange Theater,
Yeah.
is she also working with you on this?
No. This is completely outside of OTC.
And so is that also kind of, you know, is that also kind of awkward in a way where, you know, you've got this creative project and you're doing it on your own and not as part of this partnership?
No, not at all. I told Elise all about it. She's one of my biggest supporters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great.
Also, I think Elise and myself, like, we believe Orange Theater Company is strong enough. Like, we're not going to be running the show like forever. There's going to be other people who are going to run the show. And we have Viviana now on board, Cardenas, she's helping us run the daily business. And at one point, I will step away because my learning curve, that's the most important thing. Yes, it's the series that is kind of my new OTC and is getting like grabbing my attention, really. But it's also because my learning curve is a little bit done with OTC. I've produced, staged 13 productions. Laramie's coming up, 14. And we're already, getting shows ready for next year. I've done, OTC started working on our laptops in cafes. We're now at the Kids. We have a support network. We have a reputation. We have some really good reviews by established newspapers. Wonderful. Like, I kind of also believe like it's strong enough to survive without me. Also, I will not learn anything anymore because this is the question I ask myself. Like, what if somebody shows up, whether it's the council or somebody rich? Please show up if you listen to this. And says, you know what, ladies, well done. Here's 100K or whatever, a little bit more. And you can pay yourself the salary that is reflective of your work. Let's say for a part-time job, I don't know, 60K. Here it is. Go make OTC bigger. And I asked myself, if somebody said that to me and I would get a salary for what I'm doing now for OTC, would I stay on? And it was a very honest reaction. I was like, no, still not, because again, my learning curve is done. Because the only difference is finally we can pay people more, which is what I love to do, everyone involved in our productions and running the organization. But I will keep doing the same trick. Oh, this is an idea for a show. Let's network. Who can we involve? Blah, 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 blah. And then there's a show. Like, it's going to be the same trick. So my learning curve is kind of flattened. And I think that's also in my work, I realized like learning is so important to me that I kind of feel like I'm ready for the next chapter. And Elise is very supportive of it. And I'm not gone yet, but we're just getting things ready for that we can just be more involved in an advisory role or anything like that. So
for the people watching and listening, where can they find you and follow you so that they know whether or not your series gets off the ground?
Well, I'm not super big on social media, but you can just find me on Instagram.
At
Sairah Erens. I don't know how to handle. Is it at Sairah Erens?
At Sairah Erens.
At Sairah Erens.
And Orange Theater Company also on Instagram.
Also, if you go to my account, you see Orange Theater Company, you see Tiny Theater. Also follow Orange Theater Company. Also, the youth theater is doing amazing stuff. We have by the way, August. Oh no, this is going on air in September, right?
Yes.
Okay, never mind. But the Laramie project is coming to the stage on November 13 till 23, and it's going to be an epic play. It's the first time we're actually staging. Well, anyone staged it in the Netherlands. And I'm not sure, talking about the continent, but it hasn't been done a lot. It's an American play. We've adapted it. And I'm very excited for that one happening in November.
All right. Well, that's excellent. Thank you so much again for taking all the time. It's so nice for you to spend time here like this. I really appreciate it.
Me too. I feel like a free, coaching session, like reflecting and thinking about my life. But, those choices, were they right? Well, I made them, so it's what it is. But thank you so much.
Cool, thanks. Damn Yankee is produced in partnership with NL Times, the top choice for English language news from the Netherlands. Founded nearly 15 years ago, NL Times grew to become the #1 site for information about this country, featuring more news stories every day of the week than any other website. Keep tabs on the latest top stories and breaking news from across the entire country, not only in Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and The Hague. Find out more at nltimes.nl. Damn Yankee is an NL Times podcast. The show was created by me and Peach Rizzo. Peach Rizzo produced this episode, and Marcus Engel edited the episode.